I'd like to really introduce a couple of my colleagues and friends. Hossam, and where's Nathan? Nathan Bennett?
He's coming.
He's coming. We'll give you a little demonstration of it, because unless you actually see it, you're not going to really understand it. So Hossam, you want to take it over?
All right. Thank you, Jack. So some of the biggest challenges that any GIS professional face these days is to how to search, discover, and access spatial information. And ArcGIS Online will help you overcome these challenges. So what we're looking at here is the public ArcGIS Online website, which provide you a cloud-based GIS system. But you can also have a private version of this. And let me show you a very good example of that. So Bahrain CITO has one of the very advanced GIS systems in the Middle East and the world, which brings the entire government of Bahrain together. But now they're using ArcGIS Online to achieve their mission of extending the reach to the private sector, education, and to the public, as well as the government. Let me show you how they did that. So ArcGIS Online can allow you to do a lot of things. It will allow you to look at the maps, and there's a lot of them. It will allow you to search for places. So what we're looking at here is the online topographic base map, which is one of the base maps that are available for you to use for free, such as the imagery base map and the street base map. So I switched to the street base map, and we're looking at here is the Arabic labeled street map. It's a new base map. We're just going to have it available for you to use early next year. So I can do a lot more with ArcGIS Online, like simply by searching for data. So I heard about this water leak that happened in Bahrain a few months ago. I want to see if Bahrain CITO has some data about that. So I simply search for it. Here I find a map layer that's telling me the location of that water leak. I can just simply add it to the map. Here it is. By clicking on this location, I get a complete description of what happened and actual pictures of the water leak. Now I started wondering, how is the water network in this area? Again, I'll go and search back for it. So I get the Bahrain water network layer, which again I can just simply add it to the map. I'll zoom in a little bit to see all the details. Now, I don't like this opaque polygon, so I can just simply change the transparency to make it look pretty. So what we did so far, we were able to use ArcGIS Online to quickly search and discover new information, spatial information in the Bahrain CITO. But I actually can do a lot more than that. So in the next few minutes, what I'm going to show you how the GIS professional can actually use ArcGIS Online. Then later, my friend Nate is going to show you how the non-GIS professional can use ArcGIS Online by creating maps themselves and by using Esri Map for Office. Then I'm going to wrap up by showing how the executive can make use of ArcGIS Online. So now let's talk about the GIS professional. I think a lot of you are GIS professionals. So one of the biggest challenge of any GIS professional face these days is how to share his work with the rest of the organization. So think about it. A lot of the time, it's challenging to get a hold of the IT department and get a hold of a server so you can share your data with the rest of the organization. Sometimes you don't even have a server in your organization. So with ArcGIS Online, you can overcome these challenges. And I'm going to show you how. But before that, let me share with you a real story. When I was visiting Bahrain, my friends at the Electric and Water Authority in Bahrain was under immense pressure a few months ago when there was the water leak in the middle of King Faisal Road in the financial district of Bahrain. It was a lot of traffic, cars were piled out, a lot of people were out of water and electricity. So the GIS professional needed to respond very quickly to this emergency so he can perform his spatial analysis, find out where are the areas that will have be with no water, no electricity until the leak is fixed, and share this result with the rest of the organization. So let me show you how ArcGIS Online can help solve this challenge and make the life of the GIS professional easy. First, let's switch to the ArcGIS desktop. This is nearly every single GIS professional is familiar with the ArcGIS desktop. So I will choose to zoom to the leakage area. Here we see all the water network and the electric network and the leakage area. So I prepared the model, which is going to go through these networks and find all the valves and the areas that need to be closed and come up with two polygons of the water area and the electric area that will have no service. And that's what I need to share with the rest of my organization. Now, in the old times, I either have to cut this in a CD or print it and send it to the people. But now I don't have to do that. All I need to do is just save it or share it with my ArcGIS Online account. So let me do that. I'll get rid of the layers that I don't want to share. The simple thing to do is just log into ArcGIS Online with my own account. Just sign in to ArcGIS Online from my desktop tool. I don't need a server in this case. This is a really big thing. And start searching this as a web service into the cloud. So we'll give the service a name. Watch for this name because we're going to see it later. Then I start controlling how this service will look like. I can actually control how it will render and what scale it will render at. I can also control who has access to this layer. So I can give specific group or department into CIO access to this, like EWA. So each department or each entity will have the part of the CITO site have a group here. Or I can simply make it available for the entire organization, which is what I want to do in this case. And then simply just click Publish, and ArcGIS Desktop, what it's going to do is taking all this data, packaging it together with the symbols, and upload them to the cloud, create the web service for me, which everybody in the organization will have access to it. So we'll give it a few seconds until it does that. It's actually doing this live. And then we'll go and look at the results. So now it's doing the packaging of all the data, and then we'll put it on the cloud. So if you are a GIS professional and you used to do this the old way, you would appreciate how much this is a big advance. Because it simply empowers you to just go directly to the server. Now it's finished. So let's switch back to my ArcGIS Online on my browser and see where is this data at. I'll go to my content here to see the service that I just created. Here it is, the same name that I just gave it. Now everybody in the organization can have access to that. So let me add it the same way we added the other layers. I'll simply just search for it. Here it is, my service, simply added to the map. So that's really very powerful. Now, what is the next step? I want to save this combination of layers as long as the base map in a web map, as what Jack was talking about. So I'll save that as a web map in the cloud. I'll call it no water, no electricity map. Now all this combination of layers is saved as a web map. Then I want to share this. I can share this with the entire organization. But first, I don't really want to share this electric network, so I'm just going to get rid of it. And I probably just want to put the location of the leak on top so I can move the layer. Probably adjust the transparency here. So we'll look at, we're trying to create a pretty map. And I'll just save all these changes. So the next step is how do I share that? It's very easy. Just click on share, and you can share it again with certain group, or in this case, I want to share it with the entire Bahrain CITO, or I can even do better than this. I can even share this with the public if I want to. If I am allowed to, I can share this with the public, which is very important because I want to let the public knows what is going on in the area. So to do that, I have several ways of doing that. I can actually do a Facebook post about this map or tweet about it, or I can do it in a more interesting way by creating a focused web application. And you can see here in ArcGIS Online, there's a lot of free web application templates. I don't have to write a single line of code. It is there. All I need to do is just use it, and it will use my map. So here I'm looking at a simple basic viewer, which is basically view the map I have, enable people to interact with it, and click on the information, and give you a simple legend. So you can imagine that EWA, or the Bahrain Electric and Water Authority, can send a link to this map in an SMS to every single customer that is affected. Now they are informed, they are well informed what is going on in the map. There's actually different templates available for you to use. But before we go, I want you to start thinking for a second. Sometimes if you want to tell a story, maps are not enough. So imagine that after this incident and how successful EWA was able to quickly respond to this emergency, they want to brief the public about what happened. So they can, there's one of the templates available here is the story map template, which you can easily go and configure and use existing maps. So this map, in less than 2 minutes, it can tell the entire story with rich information and live that comes from the Bahrain CITO portal. So here it tells you what happened, some pictures. Then I can have 3 web maps that tells the incident with all the information. It tells me that it's electric and water problem, and it tells me how we solved the problem and when it's going to be fixed. So I was quickly able to tell the public or even anybody what happened and how successful I was able to respond to this crisis. The other thing that I want to show you is that all the maps that we created is accessible by anybody who has a smartphone device, whether the field worker or even a public person. So here I have my iPhone, and I'm going to open the free ArcGIS app, which allow me to go and search for the map that I just shared a moment ago. So I'm just going to go and type in some keywords, and then it will go and find the same map that I shared with the public. It takes a second to find it. Here it is, the no water, no electricity map. Click on it, and I just simply open it and see the entire information that I just shared a moment ago. Here you go. Click on it, and I get all the information I had here that I shared with the public. So from the GIS professional, quickly sharing it into the cloud with the entire organization all the way to the public. Now, we saw a lot. I want to let my friend Nate show you how the non-GIS professional can use ArcGIS Online. So Nate?
Thanks, Hossam. In the aftermath of the outages, the Electric and Water Authority needs to provide temporary water service and electric generators to the affected customers. Imagine I'm an employee at EWA. I've been tasked to work with the Bahrain news agency to update their website. We want to replace this static image with a live, interactive map that shows the service providers in the area. So how do we do it? Well, we need to update the web page HTML. we need to replace this image tag with an HTML tag that will embed a map. Like this. Now we have an interactive map of the affected area along with the electric and water service providers. I'm going to show you just how easy it is to create a map of this information and generate the magic map HTML with ArcGIS Online. No programming required. So the first step is for us to add the affected areas. And we can search in the CITO portal for layers that have already been published and shared. So now we need to add our service providers. EWA has a text file of over 100 providers in this area. Let's take a look at that file. So we can see this file is sort of a mess. But with ArcGIS Online, mapping this information is as easy as a drag and a drop. So these points don't just represent the locations of the providers, but also all the attributes that were contained within the text file. So our first step is to configure our symbols. Now, right now, we're using a single symbol for all the service providers, but we can also symbolize based on an underlying field, like the service type. Now, there's a lot of symbols that are available out of the box. So we can find one for the electric generators, and we'll change the size of that symbol, and another for the water service. So now all that's left is for us to configure the pop-ups. Pop-ups are actually very easy to configure. So in this dialog, we can change the title of the pop-up to reflect the service type. And we can also pick what other attributes we'd like to be visible. We can also provide aliases to make cryptic fields a little bit more readable. And there we go. So now our map is complete. So to get it on the website, we need to save. And we'll provide a title, tags, and summary. And when this map is shared, ArcGIS Online generates all the HTML we need to embed this map. So now it's as easy as a copy and a paste. So this is my first example of how ArcGIS Online empowers the non-GIS professional to create maps of their business information. Let's take a look at another example. Imagine I'm an employee in a Bahrain insurance company. Here's a spreadsheet of customer policies. So where are customers located? This is a pretty difficult question to answer looking at all this information in rows and columns. Now we know a map is a much better way to answer questions like this. So what are our options? Well, we just took a look at how we can map a table in the browser. That's a good option. And there's always ArcGIS for desktop. ArcMap, after all, is the best mapping tool out there for GIS users. But what about everyone else? There should be an easier way. In an ideal world, someone could map their spreadsheet right inside Excel. This is Esri Maps for Office, a new ribbon group added to Excel full of tools to help you map your spreadsheets. Imagine if you could put a focused mapping tool like this in the hands of all your spreadsheet users. Well, now you can, because this is part of ArcGIS Online. Let me show you just how easy it is to map your spreadsheets in Excel. Here's a more detailed view of our customers, this time with key insurance policy metrics. Now in Excel, adding a map is as easy as adding a chart. Now, most spreadsheets contain some sort of location information, and you can take advantage of the addresses, the coordinates, and the places that already exist in your data. So here the policies have been added to the map, and they're being represented with a technique called clustering, which is a really smart way to work with dense data. Customers close together are snapped and represented with a single symbol. Heat maps are also great for dense data and can be added right from the ribbon. It's really that easy to map your spreadsheets in Excel, but we can do more. Seeing the individual locations of customers is helpful for understanding where policies are located. But how does something like total insured value vary across the area? Well, in Excel, we can aggregate this information through a pivot table. Now, you can join your data to common geographies out of the box, but you can also add your own locations, your own custom geographies, like in this case, Bahrain blocks. And once the blocks are added to the map, they can be symbolized with a single color or with a color ramp. So now we can clearly see areas that have the highest level of total insured value. Now, there's a lot of Bahrain data already shared on ArcGIS Online, and Excel users have access to all of it. So we can search in the CITO portal for our affected areas. Here's a couple affected area services, and we can add them to our map. Now, in just a few moments, we've created a really interesting map. And because Excel is now a client to the ArcGIS system, this map can be shared as hosted web services and then shared throughout the organization. Now, this map can also be shared in PowerPoint. Here we've got PowerPoint on the left and Excel on the right. Like spreadsheets, most presentations can benefit from the perspective a map provides. And now in Excel, on the Esri Maps ribbon, there's a Create Slide button. With a single click, we have maps embedded in our existing presentations. Now, Excel also has its own Esri Maps ribbon, and it lets users create slides of any map shared in the organization. So from PowerPoint, we can search in the CITO portal for a policies map. That's already been shared. And we can open this map. We can preview, we can configure the layers, and we can also add a legend to provide some context for our audience. And then we can create a new map slide. So let's take a look at our finished presentation. This is a presentation about Bahrain policies and the water main break. Here are a couple of statistics and a few maps of some of the policies in the affected area. And finally, we have all the policies in our study area. But do you notice this play button? It makes this map very special. When this play button is pressed, this map transforms from a static image to a live, interactive map. Now we can explore all the policies around the affected area right from our running PowerPoint presentation. This is Esri Maps for Office. Back to you, Hossam.
That was really amazing, Nate. Thank you. I mean, just using ArcGIS from Esri Maps for Office. That was good. Thanks, Nate. Okay. Now, I'm going to switch gear to talk about a very important person. Now, let me ask you a question. How many of you actually have a boss? Probably almost all of you. How many of you is actually the boss? Also a lot of people, maybe a fewer. So the boss is very important. So how we can keep the boss happy? As a GIS professional, ArcGIS Online will make my life easier because I can make the boss very happy. So imagine that the boss needs to know about the latest reports and future projects that we are doing right now. So how do I let him get access to that? Probably most bosses, most people, important people have an iPad or maybe a Galaxy Tab. So how do we send him the up-to-date information and the reports on his iPad? It's actually very easy, and let me show you how. All I need to do is create a group for my boss, and share the reports and the projects that we're working on, the current project, that future project, and as well as the incident we were talking about, to this group. So my boss can reach to or pick his portal, his iPad, and can access all this information. So here we have a custom dashboard-like application which the boss can very easily log into, and he will log into the Bahrain CITO portal and see all the information that I just shared with him live. So I'm go here and go reach to this group that I shared with him that has all the reports, the up-to-date information about the current project and the future project. Here you go. Just click on that. Then I'll get all these maps in a very easy way to see. It's almost like playing a book. So it will show in a second. We're doing this live. Here you go. So it's almost like a book. I can flip the pages of that book and look at all the data that I shared with my boss, including the incident that we were just talking about. Click on that incident and I get live, updated map of the area and what was going on. So the boss will, at his fingertip, can get the latest information. That is really amazing. Okay. So now, the last thing I want to talk about that everything we talked about right now was about empowering the organization to search and discover and access new spatial information. But there's one very important fact that you need to know. Everything we saw so far is in the cloud. But I know there's a lot of people, or a lot of you, is not comfortable by sharing the data in the cloud. Maybe you have some laws that restrict you from sharing your data outside your country. There's a solution for this. So watch me type in the URL here. I'm going to switch to the internal CITO website they're using to have all their behind the firewall, they're not for the public applications and data. So you see, you notice here, this is a different look and feel. It's a red feel. If I go back to the original one, this is the public side. You see the blue here. Think about the sky, the cloud. Blue is the cloud. Go to the red look and feel. Red is the ground. It's on my premise. So blue, the sky, red, the ground. And the important thing, it's the same functionality, same capabilities, but is behind my firewall, on my premise. My data, my application will never leave my servers. Never leave my country, which is very important. So we've seen a lot today. It's all about empowering the organization. But at the end, I really would like to thank Dr. Khaled Al-Hidan, the GIS director from Bahrain CITO, and his team for allowing us to tell you their story. I mean, as Dr. Khaled Al-Hidan told me, Bahrain CITO is at a turning point now. After succeeding in building a very successful nationwide SDI, they are now looking into the next step. They're actually using ArcGIS Online to enable them expand the reach of their services to the private sector, to the education, and to the public, as well as the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Hossam.
Thank you.